up? This is Gaven Wilde, and you are listening to Monday Morning Critic Podcast.
Gaven Wilde is a talented actor whose filmography includes Halloween Kills, The Righteous Gemstones, and a movie I've been looking forward to forever, The Black Phone. Gaven, welcome to the podcast today.
Dude, thank you for having me, man.
5 kids in the five siblings, including yourself?
Yes, sir. 5 siblings.
Tell me about that house growing up. Tell me about what that's like.
Oh, man. It's crazy because everybody is different.
Right.
Like polar opposite. I've got a brother who loves hunting and fishing, and whereas with me, I'm kind of, in a way, the opposite. I'm more of a computer dude. And I guess you could say I'm more city-like compared to what he does. But it's crazy. It's hard, but it comes with its own pros and cons.
Right.
But it's nuts. It's definitely not easy.
Well, I would hope you're a good computer guy because are you editing your own movie right now?
Well, sadly, we had to push the filming off. But yeah, I do edit my own stuff, and I'm really hoping sometime soon we can start working on that.
Yeah, and the premise, and we'll touch upon this. I think the premise is just so interesting. I think it's such a cool. I mean, for somebody who loves The Walking Dead, and you being in Georgia, that's the Walking Dead haven, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to talking about that. So just a few things before we get rolling here. Georgia. Speaking of Georgia, it is a hotbed now, right? Because there's so much filming that goes on in Georgia. So is it a good thing that you're living there and auditioning? You can kind of be close to home when you're going for roles. That's a real. I mean, granted, the pandemic aside, because that was all, but physically, that you're in a place where lots and lots of things are being filmed.
Dude, it has been so very beneficial. When I first started acting, me and my family were just like, eventually we're going to have to move to LA. We're just going to have to go there. And I never have even been on a plane before. So I've never been to LA, never been to, I don't think I've ever been more than like 5 hours away from Georgia. It's crazy. I got very, very lucky. I started acting right as that transition was happening.
Right. So you've never been on a plane in your life before?
No, I haven't. We're hoping to travel sometime soon. I really want to go and visit Emma in Los Angeles sometime soon. So I'm hoping we can do that.
Yeah. So you're roughly in your age. I've heard you say this in other interviews, and I normally would never ask somebody their age, but you're roughly 17.
I'm 18 now. I just turned 18.
Happy belated birthday, by the way. You have a February birthday, so happy belated birthday.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So I got to tell you, I think my first time on a plane was 21. So please don't feel like that's a huge thing. But the last non-acting thing I want to ask you is, you have to be super happy about your Braves, right?
Oh, dude, abso-freaking-lutely. And like I played baseball all my life. And you said Braves, right?
Braves, absolutely.
Okay.
You're Braves, yeah.
I make sure that I was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I played baseball all my life, and now my sister wants to start getting into it, so I'm enjoying practicing with her. And I don't watch an awful lot of it, but when it's on, and I get caught in it and stuck in it because I just love the game so much. And two, it's Atlanta. You got to support where you're from.
For sure.
I was super happy to hear about the news.
Well, I've covered Comic-Cons, and I don't like making interviews with myself, but I've covered 2 Comic-Cons in Atlanta. I might be going back this March. I have to say, I love Georgia, man. I just love it. I love the people. Man. I love everything about Georgia.
Yeah, dude, me too. Like when I was younger, I wanted to get out of here. I was sort of like I wanted to travel. I wanted to go places. But the older I get, the more I realized how much of a gem Georgia really is.
Yes.
And the people too. I think that's what a lot of filmmakers that are coming down here and production companies enjoy is the Southern hospitality that they might not get as much up north. Right. And that's another reason we're just planning on staying here.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. So, I am going to address your shirt. We talked off air about this, but I have to say, one of the greatest shows, certainly on streaming. So, Gavin, let me give you an old guy's perspective, and you could tell me what the young, hip, smart kid thinks. So, I love it because it came this was released, mid 80s. I think it was 84. I think it was 11. But, it means a lot to me because of where it was released, the time period, the music. Freaking Macho and Zapka. I love them. Elizabeth Shue. I love everything about it. I love the nostalgia. Somebody who's new, you just turned 18. What do you see in the show that you love so much about it? I'm always curious about that, Gavin. What do you see in Cobra Kai that you just absolutely love?
That's a really good question. I love that you're asking me that. Honestly, man, I think it teaches so many important lessons to just to everybody, especially mainly the youth, teenagers, and I watched the original movies, and it also has this. It's almost like it's managed to capture the feeling that I get when I watch 80s movies. I don't know what it is, but when I watch an 80s movie, there's something about it that just feels like it's in a time capsule. You can never get it back. It's
right.
But they've managed to somehow do that. So it not only does it feel like just watching an 80s movie when you watch it, but it teaches you a lot of really, really good lessons in life and things that you can just use in every day-to-day life and in general.
So when you look at the characters, are you more about like Johnny and LaRusso, or are you more about the kids that come in? Or what is it for you? Or is it maybe both?
It's a little bit of both. I love Johnny to death. I think he's hilarious and
yes.
Awesome. And I would say I definitely, when it comes to real life, lean more towards his way of thinking.
Absolutely.
And, but the kids are very interesting. Being 18, around their age, at least in the story. I really like them too. I think it's a mixture of both.
Yeah. And let's just last Cobra Kai observation. We could be honest in saying LaRusso might have the two biggest heels on the show living in his house, right? His two kids are probably the two most evil kids on that show right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Or close to it. So, but let's talk about what you've done, because you've done a lot. But we do have to talk about Emma. There's a little bit here I want to touch upon with Emma. First off, she had me laughing like I've never laughed before when she said, because she's very humble. She doesn't like to say, so she was telling me about something you said to her where you guys were talking maybe shop or whatever, and then you said, all right, Mrs. 65 credits or Mrs. 75 credits. Yeah. She's trying to be humble. It's like, okay, Emma, I get it. You're a good person. You don't brag. But like, she's done so much. And I'm guessing she's 15, 16. My God, Gavin, like.
It's absolutely nuts. And I give her a hard time about it all the time.
Yeah.
And she's so humble. She gets embarrassed about it. And I'm like, Emma, I'm giving you a hard time, but you've worked for these things. I have been. Matter of fact, when we shot season 2 of Gemstones, they practically lived in our hotel room with us, and because we would just hang out so much. And
sure,
I think the month that we were there, she got like 5 auditions, and I tell you what, nobody that I have ever met works as hard as she does. It's crazy. So wow. She deserves it 150%.
Away from the camera, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want, but away from the camera, who has the more colorful sense of humor? And I'm using the word colorful any way you'd like to take it.
I would say, man, when Emma gets comfortable and she lets loose, she definitely has a sense of humor. But I would have to say it's probably me. I am a type of person where nothing really bothers me, like anything is on the table.
Yeah.
So I would say it's probably me, but she's hilarious too.
She might be the better rapper.
Yes, 150%. Yeah.
And I knew the song, and I asked her when I talked to her, I'm like, who sang? Was that? And I couldn't put my fingers around Easy, and I knew that it was just the ultimate brain fart. But the one thing, and we're going to go obviously to the Righteous Gemstones, and I don't want to go too out of order here, but like the thing I love about the two of you is that, and we have something planned down the road, but I'm not going to go into that now. But I love the way the two of you are just so natural in your role. Like, I watch roles where I'm like, that person, it doesn't fit or this doesn't work.
Yeah,
they could not have found two better choices than you and Emma for that role. I mean, you and I were you were a topic, and Emma was a topic of a guy I work with. We talk about Righteous Gemstones all the time, and we were just talking about how the two of you just are impeccably perfect for that role, for those roles.
Dude, honestly, I feel the same way for Emma. I don't think anybody else could have played Judy as good as her, and I think the reason why, because you're absolutely right. I mean, I watch TV. I'm the worst critic of ever since I became an actor. I'm constantly, and even a filmmaker. I'm pointing out mistakes all the time. But you're 100% right. You can sometimes just tell when the chemistry isn't there, even on camera. And I think we got really, really lucky with. I got really, really lucky with just how awesome Emma is, and her mom too, and we really just hit it off. And I don't think there was a day we didn't hang out on season 1 or season 2. I think that's where that natural chemistry comes from. We're just comfortable with each other.
There's got to be an interlude 3, but I'll save that for But then I have to say, like, I was rewatching interlude 1, interlude 2 again. I've seen them quite a few times a piece, but like I picked up on little things I never seen before. Like she likes one of the lines was she likes seeing you get yelled at because she likes her bird twitches. Yeah. Like that is such a freaking like genius line. Like it's just. I don't know. We're gonna get to Righteous Gemstones again. I don't want to do it all here, but like it's just the little things in that show. They all add up, and by the end, like you almost have to watch the Righteous Gemstones multiple times to process the greatness in the writing in that show. You can't absorb it all in one. At least I don't have the mental capacity to absorb it the first time around.
Oh, it's nuts, and there are plenty of things you miss, and I go back and yeah, I see things that Danny's done or that. He's done, and they're just hilarious. Not only is it amazing writing, but their ability to improvise on the spot is astonishing. I've never seen anything like it before. So I think it's really a mixture of both. It's a mixture of really good writing and just pure talent.
Yeah, clearly a scripted show whose creators really encourage you guys to just. You know what? Let's improvise here. Let's go. Let's see what you guys got here. And those unplanned moments can be some of the most special moments in an episode.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So let me ask you, who's the bigger a-hole, Jesse or Judy?
Ooh, I would say
neither are as bad as Baby Billy. I'll say that. He's the worst on the show.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the best actors on the show, but Baby Billy is just a terrible person.
Dude, Walton, oh my God, I got to talk to him for a little bit, and I just told him how much I think about him as far as an actor. He's incredible. But getting back to the question, man, I would say Judy is, because, and Emma's probably going to kill me for this. I really think Judy is, because I think she's more manipulative, and I think Jesse is kind of just a little dumber, and doesn't know. Jesse can be evil, but it's up front and it's in your face evil. Whereas with Judy, it's more sort of stab you in the back type.
That's a good point. And you know who Jesse has a little bit of in him. I have the poster behind me. He's got a little cousin Eddie from Christmas Vacation in him, right?
Yeah,
just kind of he's an a-hole, but sometimes it's just who he is. Like he's not trying to be that guy.
Yeah,
So you come to get the part, right? And when you're cast, is Danny McBride involved? Because I think that the one thing you hear a lot, that once the episodes dropped and they were reviewed, I mean, there was article upon article about how you just nailed his mannerisms left and right. Same thing with Emma. But, do you, I know you watched Vice Principals, which is phenomenal, but is he part of your casting? Is he part of your Is he sitting in because the younger version of himself? I would assume that he has a big say in that. I would think. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But what do you think, Gavin?
I have ran into him a few times on set, and from what I have gathered, he'll just sit behind the monitors either with Jody or David while they're directing it. But really, no, I didn't get any direction from Danny. Matter of fact, he would just come up to me and we would just crack jokes, and he would tell me that I'm doing a great job, and that was about it. And a lot of people ask me that. They're like, were you being mentored or anything like that? And I really wasn't. He really let me have a lot of control with the way that I played Jesse.
How about in getting the role, Gavin? Was he a part of that? Was he a part of, okay, I like this kid, or was that kind of more than just
he
Danny?
Was a part of me getting the role, but it was more a behind the scenes thing. I got a callback, and matter of fact, the callback was on set while they were filming. And I guess David took a break from directing, or maybe Jody was directing, or Danny. And I sat face to face with David Gordon Green, and we sat and we did the lines, but then he was like, you know what, just improvise. This time I want you to just say whatever comes to your mind. And matter of fact, the line in the first season, and this was before I knew it was a period piece, talking about I hope it's just food or something, the baby. When I was there with David, I said something along the lines of like, maybe it was just a bad Taco Bell order or something like that, and David laughed. And as far as Danny, we didn't get to see him until the day of shooting, and we ran into him, and he was eating. He was in the middle. He was mid bite, and he dropped his fork and got up and came over and shook my hand, and he was like, "Dude, we watched your audition, and we were dying. We were laughing so hard, and we sat and talked for a little bit." So Danny did play somewhat of a role, but
I see it. Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, and it's funny because there's so many great moments. Like, I mean, I'm not going to go over all of them, but a few of them that have to be highlighted. Like, there's a scene in the second season where baby Billy's not getting a gift, and let me throw a couple things at you. You tell me if it's improvised or you tell me if it's script. Okay, so there's a scene where baby Billy thinks he's not getting any gifts, right?
Yes.
And finally he finds out, but shortly before he finds out, you kind of do this. You make a fart noise with your. So that's, again, those little moments that just send me off to laughing forever. I have to rewatch. Is that something that's scripted, or is that Gavin being Gavin?
That is all David Gordon Green.
Okay.
This third season, if I am coming back, I would love to try to do some more improvising.
Yeah.
But there's a sense of, okay, let's get there, let's do my job, and make sure that's solid before we do any of that.
Right.
But it's all David. David will just come up to me. Matter of fact, the horse scene in the first season, David, he was like, "Hey, what do you think Jesse would be doing in the meantime while we're focused on Judy's birthday party?" And I just wanted to hang out with the animals because there were animals all over set.
Yeah.
So I was like, I think Jesse would be messing with the animals. And he just got this big smile on his face, like this evil grin. And 5 minutes later, I'm underneath the donkey. The way David works, I mean, he'll just come up to you and say something, and just have you add it in. And he loves the shock factor. He will only tell the actor who he wants to improvise what's going on. So the rest and everybody else will have a shock to it.
Oh yeah, that show was all. I mean, the end of the first season where the guys are finding out and about who cheated on who. I mean, talk about shock factor. It's all over that. But it is certainly a team effort. I see what you're saying, but I also see where, like, if you don't pull it off at the right time, it just doesn't work. Like, and that's what I really love about you and Emma, is that you're just so natural in the role, and it's just, again. It could be a collaborative effort. It couldn't be. It sounds like it's a collaborative effort, but let's say it wasn't. The wrong actors. It just, like I said, I don't want it to be too repetitive. It just doesn't work. Like you and Emma do a really great job of fitting into that team mold, the writing, the direction, the improvisation, the script, it all works just so wonderfully.
Well, thank you, dude. Yeah, man. I think, and that just goes back to me and Emma hitting it off so good, and being, like, Emma knows that if there's anything she wants to try in the middle of the scene, I'm totally down for it. If she wants to hit me in the face, flick my hat off or something like that, she's comfortable enough with me to just do it and not ask, and to get that shock factor.
Right.
And same thing, vice versa. So I really just, I think where a lot of that comes from is just how good me and Emma really just hit it off.
Yeah, great answer. So there's a lot of great moments I love with you. The fact that you're head of a fight club at the school was phenomenal. The sweater, the fact that I totally agree that knives and nunchucks are great gifts, Christmas gifts. Let me ask you this. I know my answer. What is your favorite best young Jesse moment?
Oh man,
I'm going to tell you this, Gavin, before you answer. My answer is not only my favorite moment for young Jesse, it's my favorite moment from the whole show, first and second season.
That's crazy, dude. I would say my favorite moment is when Jesse puts his finger in up to the principal's nose and says, "You want to smell my finger, motherfucker?" Okay, so I don't even know. I'm 18 now. I can say it. Yeah. So David came up to me. I don't even know. David came up to me and was like, right. This is what made that scene so funny. The reaction on the principal's face. David came up to me and whispered in my ear and told me to improvise a line. And it was something very, very dirty. It was an insult that was very, very dirty to say to the principal.
Right.
And I was like, okay, cool. So they yelled action. I ran up to him and I said it. I stuck my fingers in his nose and said it. And every one of the crew members and cast members, like, all looked at my mom like, oh, what did he just say? Yeah. My mom was like, that's my boy. Everybody just started laughing so hard because... And it got it. I mean, we got the reaction out of the guy that we wanted, and
but your reaction was like you loved it too. Like that wasn't acting. I feel like
no, and that laugh, finger motherfucker, that was real. I was nervous actually after that take. I was like, oh god dang it, Gavin, you messed it up. Like you laughed, and then we moved on, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess they liked it. And I saw it in the show, and I was like, okay, I totally see why they used it. But that was a real laugh.
But it's those moments you're talking about. I think Emma touched on this too. It's those moments of improv, those last-minute moments where not everybody might be in on it.
Yes.
But that's why the show is part of the reason why the show is just so fabulous, right? For me, the best moment for me is when young Jesse's having beers with Baby Billy. And Baby Billy is just trying to get him going, giving him beers, but not just giving him beers, but trying to set him off to go off on his dad. For me, that scene, the Coors Light scene, that's one of the best scenes in the whole. For me, the best scenes in the whole show.
I thought it was too, and I think if there's something that the show does so very good is intertwining comedy with drama.
Yeah.
Love how they do that, and not only was it hilarious to watch, but it was enjoyable because it was dramatic. He was doing that for a reason. He was doing that to sabotage Eli and sort of control Jesse, and they just do a great job at intertwining not only comedy with the drinking the beer, but the way I acted and the way I embarrassed Eli.
Yeah, great point. And you mentioned Walton earlier, but like, is there I don't know, do you ever feel like, does it ever hit you that, God, I'm in a scene with Walton Goggins, like one of the best actors on the planet?
Dude, so I didn't know much about Walton until it was the first season. Didn't know an awful lot about Walton. And he was, but you could tell that he had, just by the way that he he acted and performed. This guy's been in it for a while.
Yeah.
And I was nervous. I was intimidated, especially around John Goodman and Amy. Goodness, my mind is just drawing a blank. Goodness.
She's a singer, right? She's a singer in real. She's a singer in life. Yes. Yeah.
I am going to be. I'm so mad at myself. I can't think of her name. Goodness. But I was so nervous around all of them because they've been in it for longer, and Walton was one of those guys. Like, you could tell, like I said, he'd just been in it for a while, and
yeah.
But I didn't know everything about him and everything he's been in. But when we started filming that scene, I just was like, dude, this guy. Put it this way, I don't think I've ever worked with a more talented actor. I think he is probably at the top.
Yeah, he's super talented. Jennifer Nettles is who we were both.
Jennifer Nettles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gosh,
it's a big cast. I mean, in fairness to you, I mean, it's not like always on your mind. I mean, I get it. So let me ask you. So are you up to date with the show?
I am.
So Macaulay Culkin is in the last episode. Not really a spoiler, right? Maybe it is. I don't think it is much of a spoiler. But let me ask you. We know, again. I hate to go to my posters, but that one. Yeah. He is a wonderful actor in so many things. He almost has this second wave now, which is like, we always knew he was a great actor, but like, he deserves this. Like, he's a really good person too. As a child actor, now you're 18, but like, you didn't start acting at 18. You've been at it for a while. Right. What's the question you'd ask him?
Dude, I got to talk to him for like straight 20 minutes, and he is the nicest guy in the world. Him and Walton, this is the first time I had ever really spoken to Walton, because he's always just in character and so focused on his craft. My mom came up to me because my mom worked wardrobe on it for the second season, and my mom was like, Gaven, I just came to visit, and she was like, Gaven, Macaulay Culkin wants to meet you. And I'm like, what? Like, the kid from, no. What? Okay, yeah, stop messing with me. She goes, Gaven, he wants to meet you. So he's waiting on you. He's waiting out of his trailer for you. So I walk up to his trailer, and sure enough, he's just the coolest dude ever. And man, we sat and we talked about everything. We talked about acting. We talked about him being a child actor, such as myself, and he was telling me that there was a school that he got kicked out of just because he was so busy as a kid being an actor. And we talked about everything, but if there's one thing I wish I would have asked him is what kept him going when he was younger.
Right.
And he had all of that to do. Like, he had his schoolwork, he had, he blew up instantly. So how did he handle all that?
Yeah. That would have been a great question.
Yeah.
And he was so good in so many things, not just Home Alone, there's a movie where he plays an evil son. My son. There's a movie where he plays. He's done so many good things. And yeah, I mean, I didn't know you guys had the chance. That's fantastic.
Oh my God,
you guys had that moment.
I could not stop smiling, and to talk to Walton too. I said a lot of things to Walton that I had been wanting to say for a long time, but that guy is. He's just so good and professional. He just stays in it the whole time. And I never, even though we were on set together, face to face, I never wanted to get him out of that.
Yeah.
So I finally got an opportunity to chat with him, and it was awesome.
You picked his brain a little bit?
I did.
Yeah.
I just said, I hope this doesn't sound creepy, but I watch you perform when you're on set, and I'm just amazed. And he was real thankful and appreciative of that.
And you must see a lot of styles, like various styles, because like he has his way of going about it. John Gooden probably has his own way. Various people have their own way. But when he's into it, he's into it. So say we're about to shoot a scene. Say in a minute, he's in that role long before.
Yeah, and he won't even. He won't even get on set until he'll go somewhere else, like in a separate room, and read his lines. From what I've gathered, and just sort of get into it. And dude, I swear he's just got like a duffel bag full of things he can just pull out at any time. As far as when it comes to improvising, he is the best improviser I have ever seen, and I think ever will be. This guy just one after another in the middle of the scene, and it's flawless. It's no stutter, no nothing, like just one after another. But yeah, he's in it long before.
Well, you and Emma are pretty damn good at improvising too, so don't sell yourself short. You know what I had on my... I forgot to tell Emma this, but I'll tell you, and I'm not name dropping, but I just love the character, and I love who this guy is. Tony Cavallero was on the podcast.
Oh my God, Tony! Yes,
Keith, isn't Keith like the sweetest person on the show?
Oh, man, he is, and he is the sweetest person in real life too. I got to talk to him, and that was what was wonderful about my mom working wardrobe, is I could visit set while they're filming a previous day, like it's not a flashback. So, when I'm on set, I don't get to meet all these people because it's so many years in the past. Me and Tony, we talked for a little bit, and he's just the coolest dude ever. Seriously.
He goes to like children's hospitals, and like he does things that are like off the charts. Like I wasn't ready for what he was telling me. Like he's just such a sweet man.
Dude, a heart of gold, really.
Yeah. So, just going into the show, just a couple last questions. I look at this character in general. I just, again, and not to get too into the same point, but there's that one scene where you're all getting gifts, and there's the Double Dragon video game there, arcade game where we're all, anybody that's ever seen that growing up is jealous of it.
Yeah.
And Emma's just throwing out Easy E, and it's like, it's ironic because they're supposed to be the most religious family, and they don't know the meaning of Christmas if it hit them in the head. Like they are so far from what this is really. And again, I love that whole scene. I love and I said this to Emma, I love the bunk bed scene. Those are all just great original moments. Like it's just, and I keep going on and on, but I'm like, I don't want to sound like a complete fanboy, but I just,
no,
there's so many great scenes like that. Like that's they transition from the end of the sermon to you guys there, and Emma's dropping Easy E lyrics like crazy, and a lot of middle fingers are in the air. But like, it's just so natural. It's just, I don't want to say it, get till I'm blue in the face, but I don't know, man. There's a lot of good stuff happening in this show.
No, man. I feel the exact same way. I'm really a ginormous fan of this show too. Like the way that I guess because I just love the film industry so much, and I kind of do all of it my own way. I act and I write and I try to film my own stuff. I read the script, and for The Black Phone, I read that script, and I don't really like reading. I have a low attention span, but I couldn't put that script down.
Wow.
And just to get to the point of being a fan of it, like I wanted to go up to Scott Derrickson and just tell him how did you write that amazing. So I look at it the exact same way, man.
Yeah. And it's so well received. And do you ever have moments, right? So, I don't want to call them outtakes, but can you ever do you ever hear laughter? Everyone there is a professional. I get it.
Yeah.
But is there ever a scene where it's so outrageous and so freaking nuts that you hear like people off camera laughing? Are there
Billy's? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Baby Billy's, when he got up and he said, "Oh my God, my computer!" When goodness, Granddaddy Roy came in with a shotgun, and then he said, "Y'all decide what are you going? Y'all need to keep him on a chain, inside. Y'all decide." I swear, no. Improvised 150%. None of us were ready for that. And in the middle of the scene, oh my God, I almost started bursting out laughing. To prevent myself, I was biting on my tongue as hard as I could. So, don't mess this up. Don't mess this up. This is gold. And then when they yelled cut, everybody started dying laughing. I think you could hear David laughing in the background as the scene was going on. Actually, my sister, who got to work wardrobe on the set as well, talked about how when she was filming, they would have to wait a couple of minutes because Danny would be laughing so hard at Edie, and they would have to pause for a little bit because Danny would just be laughing his ass off, to the point where he can't breathe.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, like even the crew members, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how I do it. It's because you're in a room with so many hilarious people, and
there's a. You got me thinking. In Eastbound and Down. There's a scene where it's in the outtakes on YouTube where it's Danny, it's Will Ferrell, and there's another actor. It slips my mind, but
I know what you're talking about.
He's talking about his plums.
Yeah.
It's just such freaking genius. So let me ask you, is there a connection, because I want to talk about Halloween Kills briefly here. David Gordon, is there a connection between Halloween Kills and I purposely didn't go into depth because I wanted to ask you this not knowing it. Is there a connection between him knowing you and Halloween Kills and the Righteous Gemstones?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Like, as much as there could be legally, as in when I was on the set of Gemstones, and this is how David is. David is very faint with what he says. For instance, just to give you, and this didn't really happen, but when I was on season 1, he is the type of guy to go up to you, tap you on the shoulder, and say, "Hey, do you like the holiday Halloween?" And you're just like, "Yeah," I'm like, "It's pretty cool." And then he'll smile and then walk away. And then you're in it kills. And you're like, "Wait a minute. Did those two Mitch, Matt, like, was that related?"
Yeah.
So he would mention it a couple of times on set of season 2. He was like, "Gavin, we're going to be seeing your face an awful lot in Halloween Kills." And I would just get giddy because I was like, "Oh my God, I can't wait." So there was a little bit, but not as much as I wanted. I wanted to sit there and pick his brain for hours. But there were some.
So I've been dying to ask you this all day, right? So I went to the theater, saw Halloween Kills. And I have to ask, it's been driving me nuts since I've seen the movie, right? So at this point, Michael Meyers is a superhero, right? Because he's indestructible. Like, he is Superman.
I'm thinking that he's definitely not a man. That's for sure.
Okay, so here's my point, and this drove me nuts, and I can't let it go. But I'm so happy to get rid of this tension right now with you, so you can help me out with this. So he's in a circle. People are shooting him, stabbing him, kicking him, baseball bats. He's down. He's gone. They've got him. He's completely. They got him at this point. Mm-hmm. Why somebody isn't backing in like a wood chipper or a meat grinder? Like, who the hell walks away from a guy that has been doing this for like years? Like, he's indestructible, and everyone in this town knows that. He's killed half the freaking town.
Yeah, they
leave him on the ground and they walk away. Like, this is a complete nerd observation, by the way. I'm not like seriously, but like, it drove me nuts. I wanted to yell at the screen, like, "What are you like?" They just all walk away. Like, Gavin, am I being realistic here? Like, that's.
You are, man, and as a fan of the series too, I was like, no, like, go back and get him. I really don't know why they chose to go with an ending like that, or to go with a scene like that where they would just walk. But if there's one thing about David that I do know, is he's always got something up his sleeve. So I'm sure whatever reason he ended up going or deciding to go down that path, I'm sure it was a good one. But I was just like you, and I want to pick his brain. The next time I see him on, I want to sit him down and pick his brain and talk about that.
It wasn't even a David issue. Like I have no issues with the way that unfolded as far as David's point of view. But I could definitely see people doing that. Like, just, we've got him, he's down, we'll walk away. Like, I don't have any issues with the writing or that part. Right. I could totally see people like let's face it, the slasher movies, whether it's Jason or Freddy, it's filled with people making absolutely stupid. Do you remember that commercial where it was a commercial where these kids are like like hiding out there, like, where should we go? We could take a car safely and go away, or we can hide in the shed with the chainsaws. Do you remember that? I don't know if you remember that, but
I do remember.
So it's like, I mean, slasher movies are filled with people making just the worst, and I guess that's part of the appeal, right? Because they're so stupid, and people can talk about it, like, run, what are you doing? Like, it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's part of it. I get it. I get what David's trying to do there. I get that.
Yeah, I think that was a great point. Actually, I haven't thought of it like that. I think it's just become a thing. It's become a thing in a sense of, yeah, like people in horror movies aren't the brightest, and I think that's probably, and I haven't even thought of it like this, what he was trying to capture there.
Yeah. How does it feel to be in a big? I mean, obviously you're not a stranger at this point, but like it's. I thought I heard you, Gaven, in another interview, and I caught the tail end because I try to watch interviews just to get a feel of what a person's like.
Right.
Did you say you were nervous, or you were hinting on something like that? I caught the tail end. I'm like, should I ask him about it? I'll throw it out there.
No, I am nervous 24/7 on set, and it never gets better. Like when I started going in, auditions and even now, I'm very, very nervous. I don't know why, but I think it's because I care and I love it so much.
That's a good thing, though, Gaven.
I think so too. But when you're like 7 years old and you and your cousins and brothers would watch these movies over and over and over again, and all of a sudden there's Michael Myers' house right there. It was almost so much going on that I didn't know how to feel. And I was nervous because of the actions I had to do. I had to take a ginormous bowl of candy and dump it in a bag, but then do it in enough time to where I could be on my mark at the right time. And I just couldn't seem to do that. I kept spilling it or missing it, and sometimes the bowl wasn't all the way empty. I think that's what was nerve-wracking about it, is I just didn't want to mess up. I was like, this is too big of an opportunity to make mistakes like this. And David's totally good. David's like the type of person to go, Gaven, it's not a big deal. Like, calm. But I'm in my head. I get in my head about that stuff. And I definitely was nervous, for sure.
No, the rhythm that you and Emma get into in Righteous Gemstones, you can tell the two of you have you're naturally funny people. Like, I always hear people, I'm a really funny person. Chances are when somebody tells you that, they're really not. So I watch you and Emma, and I see the way you are naturally embedded in the scene. It just looks good because you guys are being nervous is part of the game. Like, if you're not nervous, something's wrong, I would think. Like,
right.
If you're not wanting to get it right, then I mean, if it's crippling anxiety, well, that's a different story. But that doesn't sound like what you have,
Right.
So when you see Michael Myers in the full, I mean, talk about nerves. I mean, does it hit home for you at that point where, like, holy S, like I'm here in this movie with this guy, this iconic character?
It still hasn't set in, and a part of me likes that, but then a part of me doesn't. Like, I still can't fathom, 6 years ago, I would have never thought any of this would happen. And I still haven't. I mean, it's sort of set in a little bit more than it had, but it still hasn't set in. Like, I cannot believe I used to watch these movies with my cousins and brothers all the time, over and over and over again. And when I was on set, sadly, I didn't get to see him in his mask, but we were eating lunch, and I saw the back of the suit, and I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Myers, like, holy crap. It still hasn't set in, and I hope one day it will. And when I'm just going to be like, oh my God. I'll be 90 years old on my deathbed and be like, I saw Michael Myers in real life.
Gavin, that's such a great point. I have one last question on the black phone before I get there. Is there an actor or a movie that you really have gravitated to that really, I mean, like I said, you've been in acting for a while here, but is there, when you first started, I know your parents probably see the potential in you early on. You're clearly gifted. You know what you're doing. But is there for you, whether it's an old school movie, something new, or an old school actor, something new? Because I see the way you love to write, You're talking about producing your own movie, which again, the plot is phenomenal. Like, I love the fact that you're not just okay with being, and there's nothing wrong with just focusing on being an actor. There's nothing wrong with that. But to kind of layer it up and say, okay, I want to write, I want to edit, I want to, like, that's huge. That's a big thing that I can't just like let that go and not acknowledge that, you know? But talk about, is there a person that's influenced that? Is there a movie maybe for you?
I would say for acting, John Bernthal. And
look at you.
John Bernthal, I would say Walton too. When I first, now that I can look back and watch him, I would say Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting. That was a movie that I really loved. I see those actors and I see how real they seem and are, and I watch their performances and I just go, wow, what, like, how does he do it? How can you be that real? Like, it's almost like it's real. I don't get it. Right. And I want to be like that. I don't know. I want to accomplish what they've accomplished. And as far as like editing and stuff like that, really, that was how I got into the film industry. I started doing my own YouTube videos. And as far as the visual effects go and the visual trickery that I like to do, that was Raka Raka. These guys, I don't know if you know who they are, but yeah, just when I was younger, I watched what they did and I was like, oh my God, I want to do that. Like, that's
no, you know, it's funny because you say Walton and it's like there isn't, and I've talked to many actors and they always say the same thing. Like, there isn't a substitute for experience. Like, you could tell me you went to the best acting school on the planet.
Yes.
That you've acted in any play. And that's great. That's all really important. And every actor has their own path. I get it. Mm-hmm. But what any one of those actors in film school would give to sit in front of Walton Goggins and pick his mind, be in a scene with him, I'm telling you, they'd all trade their place with you. Because that's so valuable. And you can't put a price on what you have gone through, Gavin. Not just the success, not just the good things you've done, but it's the stuff behind the scenes, you learning, you being observant, you picking the brains of some really talented people.
Yeah.
That's really important to Gavin, right? That's a big part of it.
Absolutely, dude. I think I just, it's a blessing and a curse. I just care too much about it. Like, it drives me crazy. I'll sit and I'll read my script and I'll analyze it like a madman. But I love it at the same time, and I just can't sit back and I've gotten to this point in life where I'm like, okay, I have to do something in the film industry successfully. I've got to pursue this. If I don't, I'll just be a miserable person. So I'll either, it's like choose your heart, right?
Right.
Do you want to go through the battle of never being who you want to be and achieving what you want to achieve? Or do you want to at least try and, have those difficulties trying? It's like, pick your battles. And I'm like, I've gotten to the point in life where I'm like, I might as well just keep trying and keep going, and try to reach my goals. But yeah, it's driven me insane, like watching all these people, because they're so talented, and I just envy that. I wanna be that.
Yeah, wise words, and I always felt like, researching your life, I always feel like at the time you were 17, I was watching you in some interviews, but like I always felt you were way ahead of 17, right? I'm sure not in every way possible, but in many ways you're way ahead mentally of being a 17-year-old, right? You see the big picture, which is clear. Let's end the interview with just this last question. The Black Phone, I saw the trailer for it. I told you this. I was hoping it was to come out February 4th so I could talk to you about it. That's okay. We are still going to talk about it eventually. What can you say about it? Because the trailer is absolutely terrifying. And from hearing you talk and hear a little bit in other interviews, you are very high on this script and this movie. What can you say? And whatever you feel like, just get it out there, Gavin. Thank you.
Well, absolutely, man. I will say, again, I have finished very little books in my life. I have read very little. I don't really like reading, but I picked this script up and I couldn't put it down. It was phenomenal. And it goes sort of into the, this is why I don't watch movies because I see and they're so good. I'm like, Gavin, why aren't you doing something like that? I get frustrated. I'm like, oh man, that's so good.
Yeah.
That was the reaction I got from reading the script. I'm like, Gavin, you need to do something like this. You need to start working, start writing, start, getting something done because this is amazing. And I will say, if you were a fan of the Sinister movies, and that Scott Derrickson has a very unique way of horror, a very real and gritty, dark horror, and I love that. I watched those movies, and they still terrify me to this day.
Scary as hell. Yeah.
And I say there's nothing different about this film either.
Have you seen a final copy of it?
I have not. No, I'm still waiting to watch it myself.
From your experience, and do you think people? I mean, obviously, you don't know what people put together, what they edit. Do you think people are gonna like? Do you think people are gonna? I mean, I from the trailer, I was blown away by it.
Yeah,
that's usually a pretty good indication. From your scenes, what do you think people will have a positive reaction to this?
I think so. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
and just reading the script, man. Like I said, or putting it to paper to film, that's a challenge, and sometimes you can have an amazing script but a bad film. But in the hands of Blumhouse and with an amazing script like that, I feel like you're just destined to succeed.
Yeah,
and I think it's going to be amazing.
Huge company, great horror company. They're almost like a Lucas Arts of horror, right? They're like the Lucas Film of horror. Hey man, you're a great dude. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Oh, dude, absolutely. Thank you for having me.